Hey y'all, a couple different people have asked me what is my testimony story, and I feel like I have a few different ones. I've been through so many things in my life and experienced and just seen so much. But today I want to talk about my testimony of going through New Age spirituality and witchcraft into Christianity. I fell into New Age spirituality whenever I was about 16 or 17. I think more so around 16, maybe my 17th birthday. I dropped out of school at the time because I was very depressed. I didn't see a point in going to school, and I just felt like my future was hopeless. I struggled a lot with depression, and I saw all these things online, started coming up on my Instagram feed, New Age influencers, and they were telling me or their audience that basically the practices that they were doing had all the answers to my problems. New Age represents itself as a solution. And I think that's where Satan gets so many vulnerable people pulled in. If you don't have a strong religious background or know God in any way, if you don't know Jesus, you might know another God, but if you don't know Jesus, it is so easy to get pulled into this. It basically is a bunch of different religions and spiritualities pulled into one thing. So there's so many different aspects to it, and I think that's what makes it so enticing, is because you can pick and choose what you feel like you resonate with. The first thing that I started to see a lot was talking about raising your vibration. And honestly, I think maybe I started to find this stuff because I became a vegan. First, I dealt with a health issue that almost led to me possibly dying. I had a high fever for a few days, wasn't going away, getting worse. Doctors told me they didn't know what was wrong with me. I tried a holistic approach to it. It worked. My fever broke. So I think that's where it started, is I started to look into ingredients in foods, and I became vegan. And that is a huge part of this movement too, is they want you to be vegan because they say vegan food raises your vibration. So maybe that's where it started. And I came across some more so like motivational speakers. I think one of them was Ralph Smart. I think that's his name. I don't know. I remember his name was Ralph. And he made YouTube videos, and I followed that a lot. And then I came across more YouTubers, for example, like Aaron Dowdy, who's the other guy? Victor, I forget his last name. And they make videos on raising your vibration, and a lot of really weird, like esoteric stuff. And so that's where it all started for me. There also was a girl that I would follow on Instagram, maybe a couple of them, and Facebook. So I really started to just absorb everything that these influencers were telling me. They looked like they had it all together. They looked like they really believed what they were talking about. And when I got into it, I really believed too. But at first, that really enticed me. And I thought, like, wow, why don't more people know this? Why don't I know how to raise my vibration? Why don't I know that that's the answer to life? Like, it makes sense. It made sense to me. So I started listening to all these YouTubers and influencers, and I met a friend of a friend in person. And I don't know if he was sent by Satan or God allowed it to happen, but this guy was really into crystals and meditation and yoga, and I think he had been to India, so he was also into that Eastern occultic spirituality. So I also kind of looked up to him because he was older than me, and I thought it was cool that he was also saying these things that these influencers were doing. So I also bought myself some crystals because I thought, like, wow, this is cool. I got some crystals and I tried meditating. I think that's where it all started. He showed me binaural beats. You put headphones in and it kind of like puts off a sound, like a vibration more so in your head. And he told me how to meditate. He showed me Spirit Science, which is a YouTube channel that again is really into these like esoteric things. I started learning sacred geometry from him, and that's kind of where I got the Flower of Life tattoo. So I got really into that stuff, and I started to become obsessed with crystals later on for healing and power. I also met other people. There was a boyfriend I had, his mom carried crystals too. So there was people around me, I felt like the more I looked for it, that also was into these things. So I started to use crystals for healing, power, confidence. I would wear them on certain parts of my body, whether it's rings in these pockets, you know, my pant pockets, or a necklace if I wanted to activate my heart chakra. I got really into the chakras. Eventually I got a chakra oracle deck. So that was one of my main, what would you call it? That was one of the main things that I really studied, was chakras, because spirit science talked about it a lot. And I was always obsessed with keeping my chakras balanced. So if any time I felt like one of them was off, and the more you pay attention to it, I would feel like something in my head, I forget, my third eye chakra, my throat, whatever it was, and I just became obsessed with balancing them. As I went throughout my day, if I felt one of them become unbalanced, I was focused on it. I wanted to do a card reading, because the chakra oracle cards would tell you which one was out of balance and why. And it usually made sense to me at the moment, and made sense to the people that I read these cards for. I became obsessed with reading tarot and oracle cards for other people. And that's honestly how I got a lot of friends in the New Age. So I would meet people online, and we would tell each other our problems, and instead of praying for each other, like as a Christian I do now, I talk to God for my friends, or people that I see in these groups online, whoever it is. But then, back then, we would pull cards for each other. I remember I had a friend, she was very earthy. She had an animal tarot card, or it was an animal oracle card deck. So oracle is more so like in the present, and tarot is like future. So she would read her animal oracle cards for me, and I would do her chakra cards, or I had a deck of angel cards. My decks that I use primarily for like the, I think two or 3 years that I did this, was tarot, angel message decks. I thought I was channeling angels, but I didn't even believe in Jesus or God. I believed in the universe or creator. But I thought I was channeling angels, which were demons, familiar spirits. Angels, oracle, and there was one more. Okay, I also had a rune oracle card deck. So I studied a little bit of the Celtic, like Norse, pagan theology. That's what my ex was. I met him in a pagan group. I know I have a bunch of things I'm trying to say, and I'm getting a little bit off topic, but I'm just trying to get this all out at once, and they all kind of relate to each other. So he was in a Norse pagan group, and that's where I met him. He was really deep into it. Like, if you would see his altar and the things that he did, very, very demonic. He knew a lot more about it than I did. Anyways, I was into that. I actually have a couple of runes tattooed on my body. And then my other ex, his mom, the one that had the crystals, she had a bunch of runes tattooed all over her, because they believed that it would give them power. And that's what I believed also. I think the runes that I have tattooed stand for, I don't know if I can remember the names for them, but new day, like harvest time, like reaping what you sow, strength, and I think that's all of them. I just have 3. So anyways, I had a rune oracle card deck. So me and my friends, we would pull cards for each other, and that's really how we connected. Again, instead of praying for each other, we would pull cards for each other. And this went on for many months, and I think even a couple years, because I got saved when I was about 18 and a half, almost 19, and I'll get to that towards the end. So I was really into card reading. I would do tarot card readings for people, and they would say, wow, how do you know that? How do you know that? Let me backtrack a little bit. I do want to mention with the spirit animal deck, I want to explain that a little bit before I go to the tarot. The spirit animals, I was really involved in that too. So for example, if I saw an animal, I would believe that it was a message from the universe, because I believed that the universe was just life expressing itself in different forms. And that is true, but there is God. God is the creator of of all of it. But I didn't believe that. I believed that everything was one. That's why you hear hippies say like we are one, because they truly believe that everything is just one life force expressing itself, instead of there being a God that created all of this life force. So when I would see an animal, I would take it as an omen or a message. Like for example, one of my favorite animals was an owl. So if I saw an owl, you kind of look at the qualities of the animal, the qualities expressing themselves in that animal. Owls are tied to wisdom and seeing in the dark, seeing things that are usually hidden and hard to see. So if I saw an owl, I would think that I needed to be more wise and use my intuition to try to see something that was hidden from me. And that's just an example. I would see a lot of animals all the time. And again, like with the chakras, I became obsessed with it. Every time I saw an animal, I saw it as like an omen. I saw it as a spirit guide trying to communicate something to me on my life path. Okay, now to the tarot cards. Tarot tells you your future. So there's different layouts that you can do. The layouts that I would use came with the card deck. You know, it's just kind of like an idea. You can really do whatever. You shuffle the cards and it would almost seem like magic. Cards would just pop out of the deck and we would take that as signs as like what the universe wanted us to see. And it was crazy how much it would resonate and how much it would apply to my life situation or whoever was also consenting and coming into agreement with these demons doing this. They would say, how do you know that about me? I thought I was using my intuition, but really I was communicating with familiar spirits. I was a witch. So I knew these hidden knowledge things about people that I wouldn't have naturally known. And I was able to give them readings. So the layout would be like, this is your future. This is an event that's going to happen. This is how people feel about it. This is how you're going to feel about it. This is a hidden surprise that's going to come. This is going to be the better outcome of the situation. It got really extensive. And so that was my main thing, is I was constantly doing oracle cards and tarot cards. So instead of praying when something happened, I would go and ask my cards, because that was my way of communicating with familiar spirits and with the universe. The way that tarot cards work is demons basically, you come into contract with them. You come into agreement with what the cards are saying. So they will say, this is going to happen to you. And you come into agreement with it. So you are agreeing to letting the demons work out a situation for you where, as a Christian, if you rebuke that and you are following God and his will, that might have been something bad that's going to happen from the devil that you don't have to come into agreement with. I hope I explained that right. It's a little bit confusing. So yeah, you are coming into agreement with these contracts almost with the demons and what they say is going to happen, what they say you're going to do. And it usually follows your own lusts and desires, not what God's will is for your life. They tell you what you want to hear. Yes, they will say bad things that will happen, but again, so they'll say this bad thing is going to happen, but then this good thing is going to happen. And it's usually all what you want to hear. And so with that, I want to move on to angel numbers, because that also is a really similar concept. I was constantly paying attention to angel numbers. And you know, with all this new age stuff, it's very isolating from your community and people around you. Where God tells you to love your neighbor and love your enemy, new age tells you if they don't believe the same as you, they're lower vibration. If they struggle with negative emotions, if you struggle with negative emotions and intentions and whatever it is, you're a low vibration. So it really is so egotistical that unless you listen to the best new age music, you are the best, you have the best crystals, the best cards, like unless you have all of these things, you aren't looked at as like powerful. Like only the powerful high vibration people are able to acquire the wealth through manifesting. That was another thing that I did. Manifestation, which is a counterfeit to prayer. Again, working with demons. So unless you have all these things, you're not looked at as like good enough. Like you're a weak witch, warlock, whatever it is, until you can manifest more and more and more. And really what that is just selling yourself out to these demons more and more and more. You know, throughout this whole time, I'm still smoking, I'm still drinking, I'm still partying, I'm still doing things that are hurting my soul, and I think that I'm healing myself, when really it's just one ritual after the other, one thing after the other, one spirit message, one card reading after another, where when you pray to God, he gives you peace, like instantly. You might not understand everything, but you don't need to. God doesn't want you to try to predict your future and try to control the outcome and be your own God. That's something I believe too, that I was my own God. No, I am a creation of the Most High God. So I just want to say that. Back to angel numbers. Angel numbers are any numbers that you see. So say I'm walking down the street and I see the number 111 on a house, right? I'll be like, oh, okay, awesome, I'm on the right track. Imagine how much that can mess with the person's mind if they see an angel number that doesn't align with what they're feeling. Like, for example, I would see the angel number, usually they would match up with what I wanted to feel or believe. But for example, like I associated the number 666. That's not even a good angel number. That angel number is like duality. So whenever I saw that would kind of freak me out. And in the Bible, 666 is the number of the beast of Revelation. So anyways, 444 would be like protection, strength. 999 would be like cycles ending, and cycles as in like spiritual cycles. That was a big theme in tarot too, is cycles. Everything is a cycle or a theme or a lesson. A little backstory, I actually made another video on this. I talked about whenever I got taken on a high-speed chase. I kept seeing the angel number. I got into a car with a dumb boyfriend. But I kept seeing the angel number, what was it? The one for protection. I think it was 222. And to me, that angel number meant like everything is gonna be okay. Everything was not okay. But because I kept seeing it, they were able to lead me down this path to where I had 2 near-death experiences within like the same half hour. But because I kept saying, oh, everything is gonna be okay, instead of listening to my gut feeling, I gave into it, and Satan almost took my life, and I believe God spared me. And you can think that angel numbers are good, and it's a way that the universe and God is communicating to you. But the Bible tells us not to listen to omens. In the Bible, you have a couple instances where somebody would pray like, God, show me this, if this is your will. And he does. So that is okay. Again, please study this because I don't know this the best. But I know that omens are bad because you could look at anything. Satan can make anything appear. And if you take that as a sign, it might contradict what you already prayed about. We are to pray to God first. Then maybe you can ask like, hey God, can you show me this? Can you do this for me? You know, if this is where I'm supposed to be. And sometimes he does that for the very weak in the faith. It happened to me a lot when I first came to Jesus. So anyways, that's why omens can be bad, because they can lead you down the wrong path, the wrong direction. And you can think it's the right direction, just like the tarot and oracle cards. They'll say, oh yeah, keep doing this. But God's word says to do that. So you have to choose. Who are you going to follow? Are you going to follow the messages from the familiar spirits, the fallen angels, the demons? Or are you going to follow the word of God and what his will for your life is? A couple other things I want to mention that I did a lot or really focused on. I wasn't really a big Reiki person, but I had Reiki done to me a couple of times. So basically Reiki is like healing somebody's chakras, and it can even be done from far away. So I had it done through me and I felt better. But what happens is like you're basically allowing demons to work in you. Again, familiar spirits. Giving power to anything that is not God is like opening a spiritual door, spiritual portal. So if you attach power and you let something have power, like crystals, for example, that's an object, that's an idol. And you say, oh, this is gonna give me strength because it has a certain frequency. No, that is a rock. that strength that you're getting, that spiritual power that you're getting, is coming from the demon that you are associating it with. You might not think that there's a demon attached to it, but you are opening up a spiritual portal when you do that. Sorry, that's not the best explanation of Reiki. I wasn't really big into it. I just wanted to mention that I had that done for me a couple of times. For me, I also thought that I could sense dead people. And my ancestors were mediums. They helped start Lilydale, New York. Their last name was Lilly. Lilydale, New York is the start of the Spiritualist movement in the United States. If you read articles, they say stuff that they were doing was false. I'm sure it has to do with them being afraid of being called witches, or maybe some sort of backlash from that. But they did start this small town, and I've been there before. And it's basically a bunch of mediums, and mediums are in the Bible. God tells us not to talk to mediums. And most of the time, they are channeling demons. I thought that I had a connection with the supernatural and dead people. I remember going into a building one time, and I felt a presence. And we went out of the building, and on the way out, I noticed a historical sign. And so I read it, and it said that there was a fire there a long time ago where, like, a lot of people died. They got trampled on the stairs on the way down. I thought that I had this connection, and it was shown to me to be true. Most likely because I was opening myself up to these things. This is most of the witchcraft that I was in, but it just gets so deep because you become obsessed with trying to fix yourself and do ritual after ritual, and you start to only associate yourself with other people doing these things or high vibrational people. And it starts to drive you crazy. Like, honestly, I would never admit that I was going crazy, but it really, like, I really felt like it. Like, how many more rituals do I need to do before I'm healed? How many more times do I need to manifest this or pull cards for this? Or it's like a never-ending cycle. Oh, also another thing that I was really drawn to was astrology. I do want to mention this before I stop the video, because this was honestly probably one of the biggest things. I was obsessed with my star signs, my astrology chart, other people's astrology charts. I had this tattoo on my arm to represent that I was a fixed air sign, Aquarius. I based my relationships off people's zodiac signs. I wouldn't admit that I did it, but I had a thing for Virgos. I didn't like Virgos. But now, instead of asking people when I first meet them, like, hey, what's your zodiac sign, and trying to guess their star sign, I just look at them as a creation of God. So yeah, the zodiac signs are also a huge thing in New Age. I was obsessed with reading my horoscope. I remember one time I read my horoscope, and it was not a horoscope at all. It was like, somebody important has something special to offer you, and if you do this for them, you'll get a bigger reward, you know, than you give out, basically. Y'all, it sounded like an offer to join the Illuminati or something. Like, that's how deep into witchcraft that I was, and how much I was promoting it, because I felt like that was my calling. Because of my star sign and because of my ancestors, I felt like that's what I was meant to do, is promote Satan's kingdom. And so I would make myself public. I would post and talk about these things because I wanted everybody to raise their vibration. I wanted everybody to have a better life. But now I do that for God's kingdom, because Jesus, Yeshua, Yahusha is the way, the truth, and the life. He is God. And if you seek the truth for long enough, hard enough, if you genuinely seek him like I did. I found him when I was in placement. I got put in juvenile placement. I started to face severe demonic attacks I never thought would happen to me. And I had prayed. I got on my knees and I prayed. And I just said, like, God, if you're real, like, please come to me. I was so depressed. I wanted to kill myself. And all of a sudden, I just felt a wave of chills come over me and just peace. so much peace. You know, I had cried, I had talked to myself, because people will say, oh, you're just talking to yourself. I had done that so many times in my life. I tried to kill myself when I was 13. I struggled with depression all those years, and I never once felt peace like I did until I prayed to the God of this universe, and he showed me that he was the God of the Bible, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he was Jesus. After I prayed, I ended up throwing out all of my witchcraft books and tarot cards, everything. And I spoke to the pastor there. He told me to throw it out because that's what was attracting these demons. I threw it out, just like, I think it's Acts 19 and 19. Maybe I threw out all of my expensive stuff. And I started to have peace. And again, like every day since then, I just have this joy, this peace. The Bible calls it peace without understanding. I don't have to do a ritual when I wake up. I don't have to cleanse my space with sage. I just say, Jesus, God, be with me. Yehovah, be with me. And I feel peace. So all of it is just useless. It's vain. It's witchcraft. Anything that goes against God is witchcraft. And people get offended and say, oh, Christians, they say my way is wrong and witchcraft is bad and what I do is witchcraft. Okay, well, my thing is, if you truly believe in what you're doing, why do you care what Christians say? Am I not allowed to believe that that's witchcraft? And am I not allowed to believe that it's evil? Like, whatever happened to free speech? Are people not allowed to disagree with what you do? How is it hateful? You know, I would still treat you like a human being. I would still treat you with respect, but I think what you're doing is evil. I think what you're doing is witchcraft. And people have told me that I just did it wrong. They say, you know, your intentions weren't good enough. Okay, well, I had the most pure intentions anybody could have, because in witchcraft and spell work, everything is all about intention. And I think that's why so much of the high vibration people, you know, they try to push on you, have a positive mindset, don't think bad things, you know, speak good thoughts to manifest good realities, basically. They want you to speak to manifest things. And that's a counterfeit of, in the Bible, God spoke and he created things. That is witchcraft. That is bending the will of God, outside of the will of God in the universe, using demons, Satan's power, witchcraft. Satan told Jesus in the Bible, if you bow down and worship me, I will give you all the kingdoms of the earth. Satan has power on this earth. He can give you money, he can give you fame, he can give you power. Again, I know I'm all over the place as I'm talking about this. Different things are coming to me, and I had coffee, so that's why I'm trying to talk really fast. And also, I don't want to make this video super long. So I do want to add, I want to talk a little bit about why I chose to pray and the demonic attacks that I was facing. So I was in placement after, you know, getting taken on a high-speed chase against my will, basically. I mean, I kind of knew what was going on, but I also wasn't told the full story. So in placement, there was a main house and then another house. It was out in the country in the middle of nowhere. The main house had girls of all different ages staying there. Everyone pretty much had a roommate. The other house was for those aging out of their little system, and I was 17, so I got moved into that one as soon as it was empty, and I was by myself. You know, there's no staff there for most of the time. You're by yourself. So I was there, and I started to hear and experience really weird things. So I always had a feeling of somebody watching me. That was just constant. I became used to it. I don't feel that anymore, except for sometimes, and I rebuke it and tell that thing to get out. But anyways, I didn't realize that that was demonic oppression. I became used to it. In the middle of the night one night, I heard very distinctly, I had my bedroom and then a door, and then out in the kitchen area there was a hard floor. Very distinctly the sound of shoes beating off the floor, like a few times. And I don't know why it was the sound of a shoe, like it wasn't like a hand. I could hear the rubber and there was nobody there. And I just thought, like, okay, that's weird. It scared me, and I kind of tried to shrug it off until another night I heard the vent next to my bed. There was just a loud bang in the middle of the night. That really scared me because it was right next to my bed. And the next day, I tried to recreate the sound by banging off of it just to see how hard I had to do it. I could not recreate the sound that it made. So that was really freaky. And again, I'm trying to shrug this off, and it's all happening within like a week. So I knew that this attack was starting to get more severe. And I'm not schizophrenic. I don't hear anything anymore. I've never heard anything up until that point. I don't want to make this video too long, so maybe I'll make another video explaining the demonic attacks that led up to me praying, right as I was in the midst of all of this witchcraft and New Age spirituality stuff. So if you watch this whole thing, thank you for listening. I hope that somebody can learn something from this video. So thanks for listening. I hope that you have a blessed day.